Welcome to Restaurant Influencers presented by Entrepreneur. My name is Sean Walchef, founder of Cali BBQ and Cali BBQ Media. In life, in the restaurant business, and in the new creator economy, we learn through lessons and stories. We are very grateful to Toast, our primary technology partner at our restaurants, for believing in the power not only of technology, but the power of storytelling, for giving us the opportunity to share the secrets of how do you expand beyond the four walls of your restaurant business. Today, we have Brian Bedol, who is a icon when it comes to the media landscape, who has launched something that is very exciting specifically for our space. We're going to talk to him about not just his background, why he launched what he launched, where Kittch.com is going and how it can help our industry moving forward, how it can help creators, how it can help chefs, how it can help restaurant owners. Brian, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Sean. It's great to be here.
So you can find Brian and Kittch at Kittch, Kittch. Brian, I'm very excited to talk to you about that. But before we get going, I'd like to ask you, where in the world is your favorite stadium, stage, or venue?
You know, I guess as a loyal Clevelander, I have to say that what used to be the Indians, now the Guardian Stadium, is probably my favorite stadium anywhere.
Okay, we're going to go to Guardian Stadium. I'm going to talk to Toast, talk to Entrepreneur. We'll talk to Kittch. We're going to fill it with people in the hospitality space, the storytelling space, the creator space that are playing the game within the game. People that listen to this show, people that are trying to level up, trying to build more profitable, more sustainable businesses, raving fans. And I'm going to put you on the pitcher's mound. And I'm going to say, Brian, you got LeBron James to invest in Kittch. What was the pitch? Pitch all of us. What is Kittch and what are you building?
You know, it started during COVID, and it started as a place really for chefs and culinary creators to help not just create a new business opportunity, but to prevent them from falling off a cliff. I can speak for myself, and LeBron and his partner Maverick Carter have been great supporters. But I think that they have always been charitable in so many ways, and they love food and they love the restaurant business. And when I shared, it was really with Maverick, what we were doing, it was very quick to say, we're in. But the real vision behind it was that I had started earlier in my career a couple of platforms in the sports world, and
a couple of platforms, some of the most iconic platforms, not just in the sports world, but if you include Nick at Night and Court TV, come on, don't be shy. Give us the goods.
Yeah, no. I've been lucky to be in the right rooms, and
the right rooms. You put yourself in the right rooms. Tell us more. So early in my career, I guess I started in the restaurant business. My first job was as a writer in advertising. They used to write McDonald's commercials and Hamburger Helper commercials. I was like the meat guy. And I went to Hamburger University, my proudest degree. And I went from there to work as a writer and producer on the startup of MTV, and then seriously just happened to be in the right place at the right time when Nick at Night started, or when Nickelodeon, without getting too esoteric on you, was sharing a satellite. There was a shortage of satellites in the early days of cable, and Nickelodeon was sharing a satellite with another channel that got its own satellite. So I happened to be in the room when the boss said, we need to figure out what to do with Nick at Night. So we didn't go dark. So the satellite didn't go dark. And, I was, seriously just in the right place where she said, hey, you figure it out. And it was really, I think designed to be just a, temporary placeholder while they figured out something better, and it worked. And, it became Nick at Night. And that was really the genesis of the first true business that I started was, I thought, wouldn't it be cool to do a Nick at Night of sports? And, again, having grown up in Cleveland, a lot of the greatest sports were in the rearview mirror. And
we're in San Diego. We know. Well, we don't even have anything in the rearview mirror or the front view mirror.
So at least we had a rearview mirror.
Yeah, we don't have that.
As a kid, I used to go to the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, and and so I thought, you've got, I'd gotten to know a little bit about the cable industry, just being around it, and realized that the primary drivers were basically movies and sports, and you had 2 or 3 nostalgic movie channels at the time. And, and I used to get goosebumps watching the old, Jim Brown stuff and, old Muhammad Ali fights. And, I think that the magic moment literally was, I was helping run at the time Six Flags, which owned Magic Mountain in LA. I was on an airplane on my way to visit Magic Mountain, and the old classic Bud Greenspan 16 Days of Glory Olympic film was showing. And it was about the LA Olympics. Mm-hmm. And I had been sort of in the back of my head, been thinking about this Nick at Night of Sports. And by the end of this documentary, 16 Days of Glory, I was so embarrassed. I had tears streaming down my face as Mary Lou Retton ran into the arms of Bella Caroli like this. And if you remember the Classic Sports logo, basically that captured that. And I looked around the plane and nobody had a dry eye. It was when you didn't have private, TVs. It was just like one big TV in each class. And, and there wasn't a dry, and I thought, if we could just capture those goosebumps, that there's something here. And I was lucky enough to meet a guy named Steve Greenberg, who was actually Hank Greenberg, the legendary Hank Greenberg's son.
Wow.
And we hit it off and convinced him to join me. And, we started Classic Sports. So fast forward to, how I got into, the real culinary world was, at some point over the last, 5 or 6 years, I realized that I had become much better at eating than I was at sports. And so I figured, it was time for the next chapter. And in all seriousness, I've always, loved chefs. I've loved food. I've, had the privilege of getting to know them over the years and eat at great places. And during COVID, began getting those phone calls that we all got, I'm falling off a cliff. How do you, I just don't know. How do I do an Instagram live stream? How do I do a Zoom cooking class? And, I figured there must be a platform like we had built in sports for chefs and culinary creators to both connect with consumers and monetize what they were doing. And, we sort of jokingly called it, the Twitch of cooking, which is how Kittch came into being. Was, nice. Kittch was just the Twitch of cooking at the time. And, we're surprised that it didn't exist. And when we saw it didn't exist, having that entrepreneur's disease, I said, let's build it. And so that was the long answer to a short question.
No, I love it. And I mean, it's been described as the Twitch and OnlyFans combined for the food world. And it's essentially the food network for a new generation. What I'm fascinated with is obviously storytelling. That's why we put on this show. What we talk about is the 4 C's: content, commerce, communication, and community. And essentially all of those things, they all live together, not just in real life, but now online. And how do you bring personalities and storytelling into someone's home, into someone's device, be where people are? When you look at building Kittch and the opportunities that you have, how did you position the platform so that you could actually help creators make money?
Well, you captured it 100%, and the way you described it is it's about the storytelling. It's the way you create that emotional bond is through storytelling. And the best salespeople are not salespeople. They're people who engage you in a conversation and make you feel like you're privileged to buy something. And I think that our approach with Kittch from the beginning was, this is really a platform for storytelling, for chefs to share their stories, to share their inspirations, to share their aspirations, and to create these bonds with both their local community and a much broader community where technology allows you to ship to. And it was really built around that. I mean, one sort of tangential anecdote that has always driven my thinking is, I remember once in an interview with Jeff Bezos, hearing him talk about the inspiration for Amazon. And one of the things that he said that really struck with me was that the enabling technology for Amazon wasn't the computer or wasn't the internet, it was Federal Express. And that if Federal Express didn't exist, Amazon would have never existed. And that was sort of his eureka moment, was that there was now, he said it could have never existed with US Postal Service. There was this private delivery, ubiquitous delivery service that you could trust to do overnight delivery. And that was the equivalent of a digital end cap. And, so I think that a lot of these things and a lot of the inspiration behind Kittch wasn't that others hadn't had the idea or others hadn't had similar ideas. It was just that moment in time where chefs had a real need. They had obviously time because restaurants were closed. People who loved to cook were stuck at home trying to find new inspirations and things to do. And I think that X factor was that young people began to discover that cooking was a fantastic creative and social outlet. It wasn't sort of an obligation. It was something that was really enjoyable and creative, and not just a time suck, but something that allowed them in their small communities, as they began to sort of, have safe spaces in their homes or in their friends' homes, that cooking became sort of a, central activity of it. And the other element was, one of my co-founders is an unbelievably creative and smart woman named Elana Karp, who had been a co-founder of Plated, the meal kit company.
Yeah.
And, she shared that when Plated started, fewer than 10% of consumers had ever purchased groceries over the internet. And so their job was to convince people that it was okay to buy groceries over the internet. By the time you were midway through COVID, almost the entire adult population was by necessity buying groceries over the internet.
Yes.
So the issue of buying food online was no longer the issue that it used to be. So again, it's sort of, we looked at that as being our FedEx moment, was people are now willing and able to buy food digitally. And that was in my mind what really empowered and enabled us to get going.
Huge news. Toast, our primary technology partner at our barbecue restaurants in San Diego, and the primary technology partner of so many of the guests that we have on this show, have announced they are expanding their business offerings with Google. So now, if you search on Google Maps and you sign up for Toast Tables or Toast Waitlist, you will have the opportunity to improve the digital hospitality experience of the guest, allow them to book through the maps into the Toast reservation system. One of the biggest difficulties that restaurant guests have is when they search for your restaurant and they want a table, they do not have an easy solution to book a table or to get on a wait list. This is huge news for the restaurant industry, huge news for guests, and huge news for you, the restaurant owner. Check out Toast Tables today and find out the new integrated solution that they have. This is something that we've wanted for a long time. How do you integrate reservations, wait lists into your point of sale? Toast has done it. Check it out. I love the fact that, number one, it's obviously focused on community. It's focused on content, storytelling. The commerce side is very interesting. That's why we put on this show. We believe that we're at this great intersection between the creator economy, when we think of really good online storytellers, someone that's a great YouTuber, a great TikToker, someone that's great on Instagram, an influencer. And then we have the original creators, which are business owners, entrepreneurs, people that have been creating things since the beginning of time. They're just not very good at the online storytelling part. But we're at a point where platforms like what you're creating can give creators who might not have the business acumen to be able to set up the monetization side of how do you get in front of a brand to help them talk about their knife, talk about their cooking ware, talk about the things that they have. How is Kittch helping on the brand side of monetization?
Well, I would say that, a large part of what we've tried to do, and a lot of it is trial and error.
Sure.
Just like with a great recipe.
Yeah.
But, I would say, a large part of what we've tried to do is create I'll use the word marketplace, but it's a much more personal experience than a marketplace, but a marketplace between brands and creators.
Yes.
Recognizing that brands need creators to influence their audiences, because influencers are a surrogate for word of mouth. There's no more powerful form of selling than word of mouth and feeling like someone is recommending something. And influencers are influencers because they want to make a living using their influence. And so, that bond, and we've worked with everyone from the lamb console to the mushroom console to, all sorts of, to Walmart and all sorts of different brands that recognize the power of influencers in creating this emotional storytelling bond. I mean, again, it goes back to, if someone is selling you all the time, you don't want to hear. If someone is helping make your life better and make your life more joyful, and they've got sort of, hints and tricks and hacks and stuff they use that helps along the way, you want that. And so it's trying to not be in your face selling. It's trying to help people experience the joy of cooking and the joy of entertaining and the creative outlet of it. And with chefs and other culinary creators, have them be sharing, what it is that they like to make and how they like to make it and what tools they use.
Can you tell me more about the pickleball? Why pickleball? What's Kittch doing?
So I'm going to start by turning the tables and ask you, have you played pickleball?
I have played pickleball. I have.
Okay. And do you know the name of that space between the net and sort of the first line?
It's the kitchen.
It's the kitchen.
Yes.
And so I was having lunch, as I talked about. I used to be in the sports business, was having lunch with a friend of mine who is a senior executive in programming at CBS Sports. And we were talking, he was sharing with me how great the ratings were for pickleball on TV unexpectedly, and how they were looking to double down on it. And I had played a couple of times and loved it and sort of understood the appeal of it. And somewhere in the course of the conversation, we began joking that the only sport with a kitchen needs to have the best food in sport. And so, one thing led to another. And I would say one of the things I've always enjoyed about being an entrepreneur is that there are no rules.
Yes.
And that, we connected with a couple of the organizations that were looking to grow pickleball, and we went to them with a simple, pitch of the only sport with a kitchen needs to have the best food in sport. And it wasn't just sort of in a physical environment, but it was recognizing that if we could associate
the kitchen with food, with pickleball, it opened up a whole new sponsor category. Typically in sports, food is not a big underwriter of sports. Yet
you don't say. Not unless you're McDonald's.
Well, that's right. But as we all know, I shouldn't speak for you. As my food consumer body will share.
Yes.
That when I'm now engaging in sports, it's with a bowl of chips on one side and a bowl of dip on the other side and a pizza in front of me. And
correct.
Food is central to the sports experience.
Yes.
It's just never been. So anyway, so it was just one of these things where, we said, pickleball has a kitchen. Let's, try to turn that kitchen into the kitchen spelled KITCH''N. Let's make it a kitchen.
Well, what I love about your background and that, specific integration for a brand is not just the awareness, but it's thinking outside of the box. I think it's something that's so important for anybody that's listening to this show to think about the opportunities that we have now because of the internet. I mean, we act like the internet's been around forever, but it really hasn't. When you think about how fast things have changed, you would think that somebody with your background would be launching a TV show or, something, a streaming show, but yet here you are creating a platform, essentially a tech company, to help creators and restaurateurs to share their gifts with the world, to give them an opportunity to monetize. It's something that at the core belief of what we believe on this show is that there's other opportunities for hospitality professionals to build sustainable businesses, more profitable businesses than what we typically see within the four walls of a restaurant. Could you tell me about Sag Harbor Kitchen?
Well, it's I guess part of that.
Is that part of the story?
Part of that out of the box that you talk about. I'm some days I feel like somebody should have hit me on the head with a hammer and put me back in that box. But
it wouldn't be exciting that way.
Yeah. I think it's parts of it have been a combination of the bear meets Hell's Kitchen. But I was telling someone the other night, Yogi had some great yogiism about, luck versus skill, that it was, 75% luck and 80% skill or something like that. And, this has been, Sag Harbor Kitchen has been, 90% joy and 75% hell. And, but, it feels like it's not the headlight of a train, but there's light at the end of the tunnel. We actually have an amazing new guest chef who is in the middle of starting that I wish I could tell you about, but I can't yet.
Not yet.
But I think that what I realized was, and there were two motivations behind Sag Harbor Kitchen. One was the sort of everybody's fantasy of a certain generation of having their own Cheers. And, I just have always loved the hospitality business. There was an amazing location not too far from where we live in Sag Harbor that had become available. And, I knew enough to make me dangerous. And I said, oh, this should be fun.
Fun and easy.
Yeah. But the reality is I thought about it, and I thought about, whether I was just, partially insane or fully insane.
We're all fully insane.
I thought
congratulations. Welcome to the club.
Yeah. Thank you. I realized that one of the factors that was really important to my success in the media business as a business owner was that I started as a writer, I started as a producer, I started as an editor. I really understood it from the inside out. So, I wasn't just talking the talk, I was walking the walk, and understood when a producer came into my office and said, I want to do this, I could, with credibility, say, well, that's a little bit too expensive, or that doesn't feel like it's the right way to do it. What about this? And I understood what they were trying to achieve. And, and I was loving what was happening with Kittch, but realized that I was learning a new language and that I could talk the talk, but I didn't really understand when a chef would say, no, I don't have time to do this stream, or I don't have time to do this, especially as we came out of COVID. I thought, I realized that I really didn't understand what they were dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And I thought that the best way to create the best business and the best product long-term of the greatest service and the greatest value, both for consumers and for creators, was to actually try to step into their shoes. And so Sag Harbor Kitchen has been a really wonderful, I've learned more in the past 3 or 4 months than I have in 5 years. And, you're smiling because that learning.
I've somehow survived 15 years in this barbecue media business.
There's that ancient proverb about may your life be interesting, which is an insult. Learning. I learned, for example, when I spoke to our kitchen consultant, and I went through a list of equipment that I thought would be great to have in the kitchen. He said to me, "How big is your hood?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "Well, you've just spec'd about 410 inches worth of equipment, and so you must have like a 30-foot hood." And it was the first time that I understood that you needed to actually calculate how much room you had under the hood.
Yep.
And for me, this was all, it was stuff that made so much sense, but had never known.
Yeah.
And so, it's really been an unbelievable experience, learning experience, learning toast, learning resi.
You guys use toast? You guys use toast?
We use toast.
Awesome.
And and so it's really been sort of walking the walk.
It's amazing. And I think, what's interesting for me when I think of Kittch and I think of you in the restaurant business, worrying about the hood space and the equipment space, what I think about is the long term of what you're building, the things that we talk about on this show, which is this is an evolution of what used to be an open kitchen. The idea of an open kitchen was we would knock down a wall and let the guests inside the restaurant take a look and see what the chef was cooking. What I'm talking about, what you're building, is how do you put cameras into the kitchen so that the entire world, anyone that has access, can now be a part of that story. And maybe they see a recipe that, my wife is Bulgarian. I go every year to Bulgaria. I go to the village. We eat Bulgarian food because I'm so active on social media. I post pictures of Bulgarian food. So all of the people that follow me, they now know about what Bulgarian dishes are just because of storytelling, just because of our access. When you think about,
I wish we had spoken 2 nights ago when I was sharing with someone who was eating our watermelon salad.
Yeah.
Was asking what made it so delicious. And I said, it's the Bulgarian feta.
Oh, you have Bulgarian feta. That's it.
Bulgarian
That's
feta.
The magic.
And I said, it's the Bulgarian feta. Unfortunately, the conversation didn't end there because he said, tell me about Bulgarian feta.
Yes.
And I sort of paused and I said, it's the Bulgarian sheep.
It's the Bulgarian sheep. It is.
But it's really, what you're saying is so true.
But it gets to the heart of why I care about everything that we do. I care about the people that listen to this show. I care about, the brands that have believed in us, that are doing the things we do. Why I was so excited to have you on the show is that it's bigger. We spend so much time in the hospitality business taking care of our village, taking care of our community, trying to build a sustainable business so that we can support those that work for us, our friends, our family. And we do that. But it's bigger than that. It's bigger than that when you open up a restaurant. but it can't be unless you have the tools, which now we have the tools. We have smartphones. We don't need to go and create it, because someone like you has decided, I'm going to go and build Kittch. I'm going to figure out what we need to do to build a platform that's exciting, that's accessible, and that's going to allow creators and chefs to come into a space and share their gifts with the world. What gets you excited about the future of the platform that you're building?
I would say what gets me excited and what makes me worried are very close to each other. And it's really sort of, very, very, directly related to what you're describing, because, I think that there's not enough conversation about what I would describe as the enemy in our midst. And that is, there are billions of dollars being invested right now in ghost kitchens to create pseudo fake brands that are done without a human being with a story to tell behind it.
Yep.
And as an industry, we've got the challenge of labor costs, of real estate costs, and all of those things that are very real. But what a shame it would be if the human experiences and the immigrants whose first jobs in our country were in restaurants and then went on to open their own, creating the amazing diversity of food that's available in this country, if suddenly you had 10 conglomerates controlling 10,000 restaurant brands, that they do a good enough job in the creation of those brands, that consumers lose sight of the fact that these are just all conglomerate-driven brands. Yep. Especially for delivery. I'm in a place in the major urban markets where, and so, I think that it's more important than ever that chefs and creators get out front of it, and they tell their stories, and they share their stories. They create these bonds with a small and a large community that that shows that they're human beings behind the food, and that there's passion behind it, and there's love behind it, and that it's not just some cool logo on a menu. And so, for me, I think that what excites me is the opportunity to create a deeper and deeper engagement between creators and consumers and brands. But what worries me is that if creators and chefs don't take it seriously, and just feel like, all I need is my, little bricks and mortar, and that's sort of, as long as I do that well, everything will be okay. It's not, to try to scare people, but they're going to wake up one day and realize that they're at the bottom of a, delivery page, and on top are 35 brands that have deep, deep pockets and much lower costs, and nobody cares. And so, for me, I really look at what we're doing as being so important in not that what we're doing is important, but the importance of saving a craft and saving a passion from sort of, really an industry that's spending as much money as they can to try to disintermediate it. So,
I agree with you. We are in ghost kitchens. We call them friendly ghost kitchens because we prefer to share the story of where the barbecue is smoked at our original smokehouse. And the more that we share the story, the closer that where we distribute that barbecue, people are connected to it. When you
and by the way, I think that I agree with you. I think that there's a very fine line between what I'll call conglomerate, or maybe not so fine, conglomerate ghost kitchens, and creating business opportunities for entrepreneurs like yourself who want to expand their businesses. It's sort of like, Airbnb, where you started with one room and suddenly you own 10 apartments and you have a business. It's,
those to me, it's sort of, I look at ghost kitchens as friend or foe. Is, how do you create and grow what you're describing wonderfully as friendly ghost kitchens versus faceless conglomerate ghost kitchens.
I couldn't agree more. I was very fortunate to spend some time with the former co-founder of Uber, Travis Kalanick. We were in his cloud kitchens. I sat in front of him, talked about our brand, Cali Barbecue Media, why I believe in friendly ghost kitchens, why I believe in, a rising tide lifting all ships, more stories being told, not just the individual stories of the kitchens, but all of the kitchens telling a story on platforms like this, on platforms like Kittch. I wish I had known about you at the time, but for me, it's interesting because I truly believe this. This is something that I live every single day. I made an example when I was talking to Travis in front of his team, was that he should create the Yes Network. That was my example. Can you bring me back to why, specifically when you get down to the niche, when you niche down, when you were a part of launching Yes Network, why in that idea, the same idea of Court TV, the same idea of Nick at Night, the same idea of ESPN Classic, it's so niche that most people probably told you that it wouldn't work. Yet we all know how successful all of those properties have become.
Yeah, I think that it's all about community. And, early in my career, someone said to me that they would rather have 1,000 people who really care than 100,000 people who don't. And, and I think that if you think about starting with a passionate small community, you realize that those communities are much bigger than they seem to be. And that if you try to be everything to everybody and go after these broad brushstrokes, you can never create these bonds, this sort of eye contact with everybody at once. But you can have a very close relationship with a very small community that starts to talk about you and helps you grow. And and I think that all of the businesses that I've had the privilege of being involved in sort of share that common bond of not trying to be the biggest kid on the block, but trying to serve a need that sort of felt like classic sports is a great example of when my partner and I sat in this old fight promoter, Bill Caton's little dusty office, looking at old Muhammad Ali films and calling our wives. And we said we'd be home at 6, and at 8, we said we'd be home at 9. And at 9, we said we'd be home at 11. We were there until probably 3 a.m. And we looked at each other and said, if only people had access to see what we're watching right now, they would watch it. It begins with that. I'm one of those people who believes that you need to really love the business that you're doing. You need to create a business that you love. And, if you love it, it becomes much easier to help others understand what you love and to help them love it. And so, it's really for me, these niches turn out to be not so little, but what makes them available for entrepreneurs is that they're small enough that the big conglomerates, the big companies look at them as being sort of meaningless mosquitoes. Yeah. And so, it's sort of sneaking under their radar of not being too annoying and building it a bit in the dark.
Love it. So every single Wednesday, every single Friday on the social audio app Clubhouse at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time, we invite you, the listener, the viewer, somebody that's listening to the show, to come on stage, tell us about your restaurant. If you're a creator, if you're in restaurant sales or marketing or technology, and we have digital hospitality leaders all over the globe, it's a chance for me to learn your story. We are booked out on restaurant influencers for the rest of this year. Once again, thank you to Toast for giving us that opportunity. But if you want to be on this show, best way is to come on stage on Clubhouse and pitch us your idea. Every week we give a social shout out. This week's shout out goes to Matt Wampler. He is the tech founder of ClearCogs. We use ClearCogs at Cali Barbecue. Matt, thank you for showing up and bringing your leadership to the stage. But I wanted to give Brian an opportunity. One shout out, one person, part of the Kittch community, part of the Kittch team that you get to give a special appreciation to.
Oh boy, is that tough?
Yeah, I know. It's on Entrepreneur. It's going to be there forever.
Yeah. There's a, I love, the same way you love all of your kids the same. I love all of our creators the same. But there is one creator who, I would say is extra special to us, named Kara Hollinger, who goes by Calabama, who during COVID used to lower breakfast sandwiches from her 4th-story fire escape in LA in a bucket, and now has her own hot sauce and has really, built a business around what started during COVID, serving her community with breakfast sandwiches lowered from her fire escape, and just has the most wonderful positive energy and spirit. And, I'm proud to give her a shout out.
I love it. And if somebody that's listening to this wants to get involved, do they just go to Kittch.com, or are you accepting new creators, new restaurateurs?
We are. Go to Kittch.com. There's a link to apply. We're, actively, accepting new creators, and we've got some new technologies that are going to be introduced over the next couple of weeks to couple of months that we're super excited about, and hopefully will continue to fulfill the promise of creating business opportunities for chefs and other culinary experts that supplement their can either be primary or supplementary opportunities.
It's fantastic. So I've got a couple quick questions. We believe in smartphone storytelling. So anybody that's listening to this, no one's coming to tell your story. So that's why we're grateful to have this incredible technology in our pocket. But I want to know, does Brian have an iPhone or an Android?
iPhone.
Latest version? Or
close to latest version. It took me 3 years to, I don't know if it's the latest, but it's pretty recent.
Do you prefer texts or calls?
Text.
Do you prefer email or texts?
Text.
What is your favorite app that you use?
Resi.
Okay, nice. What is your least favorite app?
X.
Are you are on X? I'm following you on X.
Yeah, I haven't posted on X in a long time, unless they're auto posts. But I'm pretty disappointed by what's happened to what used to be a great platform.
Do you prefer photos or videos?
Videos.
How many emails do you get a day?
100, 150.
Are you an inbox zero, or do you leave them unread?
Inbox billion.
Inbox billion. Do you listen to music? Which music app do you use to listen to music?
Spotify.
Fair enough. Well, Brian, I truly appreciate the time. If people want to connect with you, I know you're on LinkedIn. Is that okay for people to go on LinkedIn and connect with you there?
Yep, absolutely. And if anyone's in the Long Island area, we're always looking for cooks, servers, runners, bussers, hosts.
There we go.
So I'll give it that pitch too. That Sag Harbor Kitchen is rocking,
Beautiful.
and we're growing. So
well, I will.
Besides Kittch,
I will send some friends over to Sag Harbor Kitchen, and when I make it over, I will definitely come and see you as well.
We would love that.
And if you ever make it to San Diego, please come by for some West Coast barbecue.
Can't wait.
We have a barbecue media studio, so I'd love to show you around, show you what we're building.
I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it.
Well, Brian, thank you so much for your time. If you guys want to get in touch with me, it's at Shawn P. Walchef, SHAWN PWALCHEF. We are grateful. Please share this episode with a friend, and we will catch you all next week. Thank you. The best way that you can help us with the show is to subscribe and write a review. We love the opportunity to connect with you, no matter where you are on the globe, no matter what restaurant you are running. Please send us a DM on social at Shawn P. Walchef. If you are interested in toast, if you want to improve your digital hospitality, please send me a DM. I will get you in touch with a local toast representative. We appreciate you listening to this show. The best way that you can help the show is share it with a friend, and we will catch you all next week, or we will see you on one of the digital playgrounds that we call social media.